And what I have found as a leader and someone who wants to, and someone who has influence and someone who creates in the real world and has like teams and people to pay for and look after, all the rest of that, is that obviously it's a really important part of it, but it's also your ability to be able to hold that space. All right, guys, this podcast is for you if you have ever made some money-making mistakes, especially if you're a coach. Doesn't matter if you're a coach or a leader, any business owner or wherever you're at. I'm going to talk about some boundaries. I'm going to talk about my own money mistakes and lessons that I've learned from money. And I'm going to hopefully give you guys some lessons and some tools that you can use to avoid this. But I do think highlighting and just understanding some of these problems and applying them to, oh, I've done that before, or I may have done this, could extremely be beneficial to you, especially as someone who owns a community. I've got a couple of staff that work for me. We've done first year of business, we did over $500,000 in revenue, which is really cool. So, and I've done hundreds of sales calls. Hundreds and hundreds of sales calls and selling. I sell all the time on Instagram, email, here, sales calls, everything. Cold DMs, all the stuff. Ads, we do absolutely everything. So essentially, because this the thought that came into my head was like, because we are money hungry peoples, but I felt like, or money hungry sleazy salesmen, because we all know people have that feeling that comes up. Sometimes you're like, oh my goodness, I feel like a sleazy, grimy salesman for asking and wanting money, when I believe if your cause and where you are at is heading towards your true north and what you're doing is positive and you're wanting to make a change and you're aligned with your heart and what you want to do, is that you need the most amount of money that you can get in order to make that happen. And you not charging your worth and you not having the money is just dampening your dreams. So we've heard it beforehand, and I'm telling you again, make as much as you can because you need it, and all the people around you, whoa, dropped my pen. All the people around you need it too. Crazy. So that's why I go after and chase as much money as possible, because I've got a huge vision that I want to see come to fruition. I want 100 connected, powerful leaders in every major city around the world by 2030 and have it all set up for them. So I need a lot of cash for that. So we're out here on the hunt trying to make it happen so we can actually make a ripple effect and change the world. So here's some stuff. Is making decisions being based out of afraid of refunds. You ever get that? If you're on a sales call or you're talking to someone asking for money, like, oh, I hope they don't refund me. This is going to scare me. So I've felt that before multiple times. Spending all your money on advertising or in the wrong areas. I remember at one stage we were spending $16,000 a month on ads, and they were just going everywhere. And I didn't even know how much money that we were spending at the time. Like, we weren't tracking. And I was looking and calculating things, and I was like, ended up getting an accountant, so smart. This was at the start of my business journey. I was like, I've been spending $16,000 a month on ads, and I've been doing 15 sales calls, and out of those 15 sales calls, like one was a good lead. Crazy. So been in there. So understanding that, I think, is really important. Being scared to ask people for money. You bet your bottom dollar that I have been so scared to ask for money. I've been scared to ask for $250. I have been scared to ask for $20,000. And I have been scared to ask for all things in between when that's come up. And that, I believe, is challenging your own self-worth. But we'll get into that soon. I'm just highlighting all of these bad boys here because I think they're really important. There's also one thing to notice, which is, as a coach or anyone, is having customers that are crushing it and so successful and follow along with everything, and you feel really proud of them. And then also having customers that are unsatisfied or losing. Now, I'm going to get to a point on that, but we all have experienced that. And, every time, sometimes it challenges your own integrity. Every time someone is a client that has come to you and they have lost, or it's been a bit of a lose for you, or you feel like you've let them down, usually I find that in that situation, they probably weren't 100% of a good fit. And they've come on to whatever you're doing, whatever service or product that you're providing. And unfortunately, it just wasn't actually a good fit for them in the first place. I have found that to be really true. Spreading yourself too thin. So not being able to help everyone and being being really desperate not to be able to give back to everyone, having too many clients, too many things happening, and you're spread too thin and you can't deliver the service that you really want to deliver. Have experienced that one before. And I tell you what, when you're aware of those things and you tidy up your boundaries and you clean up some of the stuff, it's so much more rewarding, and you actually have more success when you can give more to people. Because without a blink of a doubt happens, you give your all to one or two people and you give like your highest quality and over deliver on what you promise, and they recommend someone, new client or new service that you'll be providing immediately. It just happens like that. Some other things is spending way too long trying to get one person over the line instead of the next. So if you don't have a system or something backed up where it's like, okay, I can send a quick, like I'm just talking from my own perception. Let's say someone doesn't jump onto the program, but they were close, right? We had a sales call and they're like, oh, I got a few things to toss up. What really high increases conversion rates is creating a loom, making an email, sending them the loom to the email, sending them a text message, sending them a picture of you and a voice note to as a reminder to watch that video, give them a gift of some sort, like a PDF or a video training or something. Then they go through and they watch it, follow up again. And then when they do watch it, they might come through and be like, oh yes, we'll jump on. Or you'll reschedule a call and then reschedule the next call and reschedule the next call when you're talking to them. Sometimes a conversion works really well. However, if you're spending hours and hours on there, or there's people knocking on your door somewhere like, hello, let us in, please. And you're not focusing on them because you're focusing on one person, you could be missing out on an opportunity. I've thought I had to give refunds when I didn't. So that's so big. Like this is really, really like sort of mind blowing of when you're talking to certain people or they pulled out or something and you go, oh no, I have to give this person a refund when you actually didn't have to. It's this understanding that that's a projection that you have, and the projection that they have is like maybe they haven't shown up, maybe they've got something busy on their life, they paid for the service, they were happy paying for the entire thing, they got what they needed, and they're like, cool, we're out of here anyway, you don't have to refund me for the rest, I've got my value. Really cool. I've also been owed lots of money and forgotten to chase up money, depending on what you're doing. So I remember at one stage of my business, I was posting content all the time. I was creating YouTube and videos, YouTube and podcast videos every single week. I was coaching multiple people. I was creating modules inside the program, and I would also host group coaching calls for them as well, writing out the worksheets, all the rest of it, messaging people, getting new leads in, doing multiple sales calls per week, going to the gym, trying to balance the social life, getting back to people, and on top of that, all of the admin. So all of the like financial admin. You guys know how crazy that is when it's like emails, putting things into Xero, reconciling things, and you're like, this time is nuts. I calculated all of it at one stage, and it was like I needed like 100 hours a week or something, like 90 to 100 hours a week to complete all my tasks. And just the thought never occurred to me to hire someone to help with that. And I was owed a lot of money. And I remember before I hired Bo, my online business manager, and he is fantastic, by the way. The work that he has done is honestly, it's insane. The organization, the structure, the professionalism, the relationships built with the clients and the customers is honestly insane. So having someone like that in your corner, highly recommend. Recommend more than anything else. But I remember he had this huge list of all these people we had to follow up and all these payments and that we had to follow up. And I knew they were all there. I didn't want to look at it. I was like I'm so focused on the front end and delivering and creating that this is just like draining me. And I felt guilty for not wanting to even look at the money. I'm like, do I not want money? What's wrong with me? I need this money. And it wasn't until I remember like teaching him, going through everything with him. And he sent me 1 week. He's like, this is the list we've got to do. And I remember just being like, can you please do it? And feeling guilty for that. And then he comes back the week after, a little report. And he's like, look at all of what you've got to do now. And there was nothing in there. Not one person to follow up. And I said, yes. And we got all of the money come back, and with all the money owed, like come back in, and we were just like, oh, this is the best. However, I know what it's like when you're in that position and you're owed. You've got to chase things up. People aren't paying on time. And it's like that, sort of, you feel like you're just holding all this weight on your shoulders, like, please come in, because we all know financial stress is the biggest killer when it comes to stress in general. And what I wanted to talk about, and the purpose of mentioning all of these things and these losses and these mindset things that have happened with money, is all of these lessons that we learn in order to become better. And what I have found as a leader and someone who wants to, and someone who has influence and someone who creates in the real world and has like teams and people to pay for and look after, all the rest of that, is that obviously it's a really important part of it, but it's also your ability to be able to hold that space Be able to hold all of these money triggers coming in. Oh, afraid of refunds. Oh, afraid to ask for money. Oh, afraid of this, all these other things in terms of like actually working through and moving through your own money mindset. Like this is all money mindset, which is why it's so important. Like you see, what's the difference between people that are making crazy amounts of money and generating wealth and generational wealth and the rest of it, and then someone who is working like a 9 to 5? It's literally just their mindset. It's all their mindset. They talk about the Pareto distribution. I think it was Jordan Peterson or someone. I know one of my close friends who is a really successful entrepreneur. His name's Benji from across the Rubicon. He talks about this, and he was saying it's like, if all of the wealth was distributed evenly among every single human in the world, all the wealth would end up straight back into the wealthy people's pockets because they know what to do with it and they know how to hold it. Now, for you in your journey, if it's like new skills, is understanding where self-development and leadership is so powerful and important, because there's no difference between a money trigger, a relationship trigger, a trauma trigger, or something that hits you in a way where it goes, oh my goodness, like I feel negative emotions toward this. What's coming up with me right now? And there's no difference. They're all just triggers. And if you can analyze and you have the skills of self-analysis and self-awareness, you can figure out what they are, is then you can start like threading the needle to put them all together and sort of, stitch all of them up, all of the money mindset holes up to clean your slate so that you can have a better money mindset and create more money and wealth for yourself. So I hope you find that useful. So I really want to talk about this holding space thing and just understand that this is a really important technique to use and realize, and a perception to have that can help you on your make money journey. So every time that there is is one of these triggers, or you notice, I've been owed this, or I'm afraid of refunds or anything for asking for money, scared to, having like being frustrated at some clients loving the work that you're doing and some clients not being too happy what you're doing, is all just the process of duality. And what I mean by duality is, this is the holding space thing, is you can be making, for example, I ran a retreat a couple of weekends ago, and I had, like, for my own self, I was coaching people. Some of them own multi-million dollar companies, and one of them did. He said to me, Corey, I look at you and find that you're so successful, and I look at myself and I think I'm not successful. It was interesting at that time because I noticed a trigger come up to me that was, no, I'm not successful. You own a multi-million dollar company. Why do you think like I'm successful? And that come up in the duality of it. And then I had to think about it. This person is looking at you and looking up to you for everything that you've done, everything that you've created, and think you're so successful in your leadership, in your bigness, with your team, with your awareness, with the skills that you've got. And you've got to receive this. And it was interesting because I had to hold the duality of going, whoa, I have this trigger right now. And then also now I've got to coach this guy on his thing. So I had to hold the duality and the difference of like, what's going on right here? But it was interesting because as soon as that trigger came up, it was like, it took me one breath to firstly hold the duality moment and hold the space, and then think to myself, you know what? I am extremely successful. And I'm here leading this entire group of people in regards to this. Whilst at the same time, the week beforehand, we were worrying and stressing in our business if we're going to hit break even. And then I was attached to the scenario of the numbers for break even. Even though we can move everything around and we're completely fine. And we end up smashing break even anyway. We did it in it was like a 24-hour period. It was like 10 grand came in. And we were like, we smashed it, which was really cool. So being in that position where you can actually hold the space of like, wow. And I didn't know at that time that we hit break even. So I was like, wow, we didn't even hit break even this month. This person thinks I'm really successful. And now we're talking about this. And then being able to, in a moment, take your mind and go, actually, I'm really successful. I deserve to be successful. This is what I'm doing. Have this gratitude for yourself and then bringing it back. So when you are having money triggers, or when you understand, or you're feeling a little bit, there's something coming up, afraid of a refund, or there's something you're not worthy in here, or one of your clients or customers end up bailing out, and you go, what the hell is it? This is about me. I've done something wrong here. It's to understand that it's not about you. It's about the other person's own projections, and what you're making about you is just the stories that you're unaware of currently. And when you get aware of those stories, you can make really good decisions. And to firstly get aware of those stories, all you have to do is just remember to hold the space. Cool. There's a trigger here. Is how you think. Is how we think. Cool. There's a trigger here. What I'm going to do about it is think about it. I'm going to keep moving forward and hold the space. And when I can dissolve that story, write down some notes or journal about it, or talk to someone. I find that the best way to get over it, and it sounds so interesting, right, is to ask for help. Like I had a story, like literally it was yesterday. I was talking to one of my employees because I was literally standing there trying to think, like banging my head against the wall. I was like, oh, for some reason I can't think right now. Like, what am I going to do? And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to call someone and I'll get them to soundboard me. They soundboard me. I figured out everything that we needed to do. I did all the work done, all the writing, all the copy. And I was like, wicked, we're going to do awesome with this. So when it comes to you calling someone, asking for help to dissolve some of these stories, understanding that it is space for you and your evolution to grow is when you'll actually grow. So I hope this shifted your perception. I hope you guys got some use with this. And if you did, please leave a comment below. Like, subscribe, all of those things. I would absolutely love a follow on the podcast. I hope you got something out of this. Big love, guys. We'll see you in the next one.